Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kryptonized. Today, we've got Richard Carthon on, and we're going to talk about buying altcoins at a discount, the market, Web 3.0, and how to get mass adoption for crypto, which is one of my big freaking pet peeves of this whole thing, is we make things so complicated, and we really don't have to. So with that, Richard, would you give us a brief bio of yourself, and then we'll just jump right in.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me, Mark. So, hey, everyone. My name is Richard Carthon. I run an education platform called Cryptocurrent, and we help bridge the gap between people who know nothing about the space with the thought leaders in the space. Additionally, I'm a managing partner for a couple of different funds that are in the crypto space, Crescent City Capital and Acacia Digital. So I am very heavily involved in all things Web3.
Great, and we love having a unique perspective, somebody that's in the education of crypto and also investing alongside of these companies. So great to have you. So before we jump into what I really wanted to talk about, just give us a lay of the land. It's, we're in mid-September 2022. What does the market look like to you?
So mid-September, we are seeing a bearish year. So we've been in a bear market since the last 2-year bull run that we've seen. When bear markets happen, typically you see anywhere from a 60 to 90% pullback from all-time highs, which is holding it true for a lot of the cryptocurrencies that are out there. From your top 100 all the way to the 20,000 plus cryptos that are out there. So while this is happening, some other factors that kind of helped us get here faster has everything to do with, unfortunately, the Terra Luna crash, everything that happened with Celsius, Three Arrows Capital failing. And that was just, I think, the first round of other large companies in the Web3 space that will unfortunately go on to default and will become insolvent. So because of all of this money that basically got wrapped up in it and had to leave the market to help with the insolvency, we could see even more pain, unfortunately, before we get to the other side of what's happening in the market. And a lot of it has to do with the macro of global inflation, what the U.S. is doing to help combat inflation. At the time of this recording, we're probably in September, we're probably about to get an update that inflation is about to increase by another 75 basis points, potentially 100, which every time that there's been a direct correlation between when that report comes out and the basis points are increased, that you see a drop off. So because that's probably going to continue going into the end of the year, mixed with just the amount of institutional money that's just sitting on the sidelines waiting for a good price entry, I think that unfortunately we have not seen the bottom yet. I think we still have a little bit more pain before we start to climb out the other side.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's like anything, it's a nascent space, has been around for a long time, especially the altcoins. We're all trying to figure out the models that work, that bring real value to the community. And because it's relatively easy to get one of these tokens and coins started, there's, like you said, 20,000, and a lot of them should fail unless they're providing real value to the community. So I see this as kind of a healthy purge, and then the next generation, which I want to talk about next, should have value and should propel the industry a lot farther. But before we do that, what is it about crypto that where we don't have mass adoption yet? For me, it's just too hard to get in, too hard to understand. The words we use and some of the things that we say are just too complicated for the average person. But what's your opinion?
We are not at mass adoption yet. We still have a ways to go and grow. Things aren't seamless. So when you think about what does it take for something to become where everyone's using at the same time to truly get to mass adoption, it needs to have easy onboarding. You have to pretty much eliminate majority of friction. However, as you look into getting into crypto, especially as you start to get more advanced things between setting up wallets and understanding DeFi and understanding staking and all of these other cold storage, as soon as you start throwing out all these little buzzwords, it just turns off most people because they're like, I don't know what you're saying. And there's not like 1, 2, 3 clicks and you're done. It is not just a multitude of clicks. It is also processes and understanding how everything works. You really have to want to spend time to figure it out. But where I think we have a path to getting closer to mass adoption, I think NFTs can be that bridge to bring more and more mass adoption, because the most people, and I've been in the space since early 2018, so 4 years at this point, and the most people that hit me up to learn more about crypto was all about enduring the NFT craze of early 2021. And even as we've gone into this year, more people ask me about NFTs relative to what they ask me about cryptocurrencies. So I think that NFTs could be that bridge to help get us to mass adoption, because I think people can click with it a lot easier.
Okay, but you look at generation one, as I call them, NFTs. There's of course some breakout hits, but most of them have failed miserably, either because they don't have a celebrity behind it or they don't have a marketing campaign behind it. And it's very easy to create and mint NFTs. So again, you have this flood of content being poured in here, and it all can't be valued highly. So what do you think it's going to take for NFTs, which I agree are an easy way into crypto? What is it going to take for NFTs to become valuable enough where people value them more?
So when you look at the flow of money that comes into the crypto space, a big overwhelming amount came through the Ethereum blockchain in the form of NFT purchases in and out during the bull cycle last year. During these bearish times, of course, when you look at your high risk portfolio, cryptocurrency is already in that 10%, right? But then you get into NFTs, and that's the 10% of the 10%, right? So the reason that people could connect and understand, whether it's digital art or having an NFT that has some sort of utility that you can go and use in real life, or you're now going to a concert in Ticketmaster, and now you have this NFT, so now you can memorialize this moment that you went to, or artists that went and sold 1 million NFTs of the song, and now you own a piece of that, and other elements of it. People connect with what Web3 is all about. So Web 1.0 is all about read. You go on a website, all you can do is read it. You can't really do anything else. You click and you observe. Web 2.0 is read and write. So Facebook, MySpace, all these things, you can go in and you can participate and communicate. Web 3 is read, write, own. So now you have ownership. Now you can start to not only receive some sort of benefit from being a part of it, but you can contribute and receive some sort of compensation that helps move the community forward. And where people are, I believe, are connecting with these NFTs is that piece of ownership that they can own. But on the flip side, for the artists and the creators that are doing it, what they like is the residuals. You've never had a way to have reoccurring money before. And now through NFTs, you are already starting to see that happen. Tiffany & Co. just dropped a collaboration with the punks, the CryptoPunks, and they sold out. And they made millions of dollars in a short amount of time. And so it's no guess why on the Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, almost every single major company started dropping NFTs with their products. So you look at the MTV Music Awards, you had Eminem and Snoop Dogg perform in the metaverse with Bored Apes. So you're starting to see culture, hip-hop culture and fashion embrace NFTs, and you're starting to see it happen with corporations as well, and they see it as that way to have a new form of residuals. But for your end user, your everyday person like me and you, we can now own a part of things as they're being built out.
And own what, though, exactly? It's just a JPEG, right? That's unique to a blockchain cell, for lack of a better word, or a block. So what's the big deal around it? I could just I could copy your NFT from Bored Apes and display it on my computer and on my wall. What's anyone going to do about it?
So the first thing is, because it's all on blockchain, you now have a digital ledger to prove ownership of where did this originate. Yes. And that's part of it. Whereas before, you really, with any really stock image or picture period, it's really hard to prove where it originated from. Even as, for example, you had a picture that was taken and then media picks it up and then uses a ton of times. A lot of the times the photographer who took that original photo doesn't get credit, doesn't get paid on that. Now through NFTs, because it's on blockchain, because you can prove, hey, I originated this, this is where it was minted, here's where it came from, and here's where it distributed. Now you have a claim to be able to go and get the revenue that you should be due. But outside of that too, the way that I see NFTs being valuable to people, a lot of the NFTs now are being built with utility. So because you own something, you now get something physical in return. So one of the ways that you're starting to see this happen, if you went to NFT NYC this year, there's a lot of side parties. And if you owned one of the NFTs, you got to go to one of these events and participate in these extravagant $100,000 plus thrown parties where you get to meet all these different people. And not just that, there are other utilities where, for example, I'm full disclosure, I'm part of a NFT called Club Divin, and what you can do is go to these different events and drink very rare wines, and then be able to get what they call tasting tokens. So there are NFTs that represent the wine that you tasted, like who grew it, where it came from, where this particular package came from, the whole origin of it. So now I also have like a piece of history that I can now like look at and refer back to. So there's just a plethora of utility around how these NFTs can be utilized.
Yeah, I think that's where the value starts, where it starts unlocking things or it represents something. I always said Airbnb should issue NFTs so that, you could get access to one of their properties throughout the year. Not unlike timeshares or something like that, but people can get real creative with these things. But if it's just a simple JPEG, I'm very skeptical because it's very easy to reproduce. Yeah, so what? You own it. I don't. It's still on my wall. I don't really care. But if there's something that unlocks, like these parties that you're talking about, or perhaps if you securitize the NFT, register with the SEC, now they own a piece of something. They're like stock, but a smart stock that does things like unlock parties or pay dividends or whatever.
Right.
What I'm saying is I don't think this current generation NFTs is enough. I think we're going to need the next generation, which is starting to creep in already, before people value it more, before the mainstream comes in, before we have mass adoption, at least of NFTs. Am I wrong?
I think that besides the people and the projects that were able to truly just create hype, really good marketing and great branding, it is going to be hard to just truly sell something purely based on art for digital art. However, there are some people that could still pull it off and do pretty well with it. It just really depends on what you're getting into and what you're trying to get out of it. I had the opportunity through my show to interview a guy named Spotty Wi-Fi. He's a musical artist. He's been rapping for years, and he was able to mint one of his albums as an NFT and was able to make 6 figures off of that mint, more money than he's made in his 10 years of rapping individually, because it went direct to him. And so it's creating new ways for people to go directly to their audience and be able to create value to them, but then also the audience being able to participate and have a piece of that as well. And then the only other thing I'll say about NFTs through utility is through what's happening with the metaverse and gaming. Gaming is huge. If you look at the largest games that are out there, most of them are free. So you look at Fortnite, you look at Minecraft, all these different things. How do they make all their money then? It's because they have these upsells. You can buy these skins. You can buy these different whatever, these weapons. Now through NFTs, not only can you do that, you can now sell these weapons or sell these skins or whatever to someone else, and now you get to make the money. Whereas before, if you're in that ecosystem, you just got to keep buying and buying and buying, and whenever you leave, that's it. But like now, you can now open up a market and you can go and directly sell that to somebody else that potentially wants that particular weapon skin or what have you.
Yeah, my son used to accumulate all of these outfits and guns and all this stuff, and it would cost me a fortune to kind of pay for it. And I'm like, there's no secondary market for this. So, why hasn't somebody set that up? Well, Wax came along and they set up a secondary market, but then that was shut down. It only worked on a few games. And that's the problem I have with NFTs still today. It only works in Fortnite or only works in whatever games issued the NFT, is my understanding. It won't go cross-game. I can't bring one gun into the next or one outfit into the next. That makes sense because they'd have to program all that in. But if there were an NFT layer across all games, for example, where it made sense. You can import vehicles or guns or whatever. That would be pretty cool as an NFT, or swap. You do an NFT swap, one gun for another gun in another game because somebody's taken the time to rate them all. I think these things are all to come, and I agree. Gaming's a big space for it. Music, where musicians that can't get a record label can kind of fund what they're doing through NFTs that unlock certain things. Maybe it's their first album or something. Those, I think, have real value, and we'll see that in Generation 2 provide people with a real reason to own and collect these things.
Yeah, I mean, there's because there's so many doors and options that people have within this. We're just tipping the iceberg. There's going to be more iterations, and you made an earlier comment that I want to go back to really quickly with the 20,000 plus cryptocurrencies that are out there. So I don't like to. Yes, they are cryptocurrencies. I like to tell people they are blockchain startups. So a lot of these companies, if you think of any startup, 90% of all startups fail, just plainly. But the 10% that makes it are going to have a lot of success, and they're going to do really well. But they also have to survive. To be able to be that 10%, you also have to survive these down markets when the bearish times happen. Going back to one of the things you brought up, like early at the top of the show with like the blue chips and like how do you like pick some of these out? There are a lot of projects who had a lot of success in 2017 to 2018 and then fell off a cliff for 2 years. And then when the next bull cycle happened in 2020, they went and crushed it. They did outperform Bitcoin, outperform Ethereum, all these. And so the point being is that these blockchain startups who are building, who are surviving, who are running lean and are not spending an extravagant amount of money on marketing and other things when they're not getting ROI with getting new users or getting new people to use their protocols or whatever it is. Those are the ones who survive, that can keep building all these utilities that people want in these use cases that are going and thriving and now some of the your top 100 cryptos that are out there. So I'm really excited for, although this is a tough time in bearish sentiment, I'm excited for the companies that are going to be able to survive and get ready for the next wave up once we get past this blip of where crypto's headed.
Okay, but how do you know that there's a blue chip altcoin? Do you have an algorithm, a formula? Do you have a process of evaluating these things to say, hey, if we invest in XYZ today, it'll be worth Z times 10 in a year when the bull market returns? So
the way I like to analyze or what I would consider a blue chip crypto, one of the first things I like to look at is how long has it been around? So how many years has it survived? And then secondly is how large is its market cap? Because you then have to decide like, okay, how much retail or potential institutional money is in it and how much money do they have in their treasury? And the reason why that's important is when moments like this happen and money starts pulling out, how much money do you have in reserves to be able to survive this moment so that whenever the market does recover and goes another direction, you can, ride it on up with it. And not only that, if you survive and you are around during a bullish moment, how much money are you putting aside for a rainy day so when this happens, you're prepared? And unfortunately, there are a tremendous amount of cryptos who entered into the top 100 cryptos during the bull cycle. And then now that they're out of it and now they're in a lot of trouble because they just thought the gravy train was just going to keep coming, right? So they're like, oh man, we're growing. Let's just keep throwing money at this. Let's keep trying to go faster without having someone make sure that they were putting money aside in their rainy day fund to make sure that they can survive this. So that's one of the first things I look at is how long they've been around, what's their total market cap. And then the next thing is, what's their community look like? Are people actually using this? Are they building on top of it? Do they have a really engaged Twitter and Discord and Telegram channels, what have you? And what is the overall sentiment of that group? And if the sentiment's strong and people are constantly trying to be involved in it, that's a good indicator to me as well that, hey, doesn't matter that this is going down. People really believe in this. They're going to try to find a way to make this survive. And then finally, it's how far down has it corrected? So, for example, you have something like a Solana. Solana At one point, I believe in 2020, you could have got it for under $10. At the top of the bull cycle last year, it went over $200, and now it's back down to, I believe, close to 30. So as an investor, a couple of things. Hopefully you got in early, and then hopefully you sold some at the top or close to the top, but hopefully you didn't just keep it all. And the two lessons from that, just as an investor, is take some profit, make sure you're taking profit when possible, but also know what your risk profile is. But the real question then becomes like, okay, do I think Solana is going to disappear? Do I think between the institutional money that's gone into it, people that are building on it, the NFT marketplace and all this other kind of things, okay, do I think it's going to disappear during its bear cycle? No, I don't. So then the next thing is, okay, well, where do I think the floor is? So then you have to think, okay, well, it's down 80+% from its all-time high. How much lower down can it really go? Especially if all the people who are in it now probably are just holding on for dear life. They're hodling. So then you're like, okay, there's a little bit of money left that it potentially could go down. So now you're just looking for potential price entries. Because then when you look at, again, history doesn't rhyme, or it doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And what typically happens during these bull and bear cycles, these blue chip cryptos, if they don't return to all-time highs, they get up close to about 80%. And so you then have to look at these projects and be like, okay, well, using that logic, if Solana can get back to 80%, that's, roughly $160, and it's at $30 right now, and I have a long-term trajectory, this might be a good place to consider trying to size in, unless I think that it's still going to go a little bit lower and I can get a better price entry. But in the long run, if I think it can potentially get back up to those levels, it might be something I'm looking for as an opportunity in the long run. And again, not financial advice, but things that you can be looking at.
Well, I mean, the way I see it is some people do take profits, but they just put them right back into another crypto, and then bear market hits and they lose it that way. It's not like putting into the dollar is any kind of lifesaver either. I mean, with 8% inflation, I think a mixed portfolio, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but a mixed portfolio of stocks that are more recession proof might be an answer to put some of your profits into. I mean, this is a very complicated question. I probably should find somebody that does portfolio analysis for crypto and bring them on. But with that, we're at the end of the show. I really want to thank you for being on. It went by really quickly. How do people get a hold of you?
Absolutely. You can contact me at Twitter at Richard Carthon, and you can find me pretty much on all social platforms that way. On Instagram, I'm Richard_Carthon, and then even on LinkedIn, you can just find me at my name. And then you go on any of my socials, you can find all the other things I'm involved with. But again, Mark, thank you so much for allowing me some time to come and talk with your audience.
My pleasure. Thank you. If you've had the problems with banks and inflation and anything having to do with the US dollar or any currency around the world for that matter, you know how important crypto can be, but it's got to be the right crypto. So our friends at Tetragard have decided to create what's probably generally considered an ETF with 3 tokens, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and PaxG. They've wrapped it all up with a rewards token that's built in, and it's easy to buy. It's really quick at the website here. Now, the best part is you're getting rewards while owning this, and therefore you're making money just by holding on to it. How could you go wrong with this? Why would you buy Bitcoin, PaxG, or Ethereum separately when you can get them all wrapped together at the lowest prices with a rewards token built in? I can't think of a reason why. Can you?